Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Here with, I think it's going to be another ranty video, so buckle your seatbelt and strap in. And please forgive me if I get too whiny here or too ranty. One person that I really look up to is Solarian Community College, and one of the reasons why I look up to him is he's never afraid to speak his mind or get to the bottom of things, give something a bad review, or just try to find the truth, the honest review of something. So I'm glad that I have Solarian Community College to look up to know that you can be successful without really going the suck up route to really sucking up to your overlords or like it's just it. I know personally that the Rogue Deck Builder is probably never going to get spotlighted by Wizards of the Coast. I'm never going to receive a spoiler card. They've never reached out to me one time. I've actually reached out to Wizards plenty of times, but I've been very highly critical of a lot of, especially MTGO, in the past on YouTube videos. And I've been critical of other things too that I love and enjoy. I've been critical of Puka Trade before. I've been critical of other companies that I admire and use. And that's I think that being critical of something is better. It's like the more moral thing to do if you disagree with a statement on something you actually enjoy or disagree on a part of something you enjoy is better for the game in the long run, or just better for it promotes change and good change when people are critical rather than just trying to sidestep something they don't agree with or don't enjoy and letting it just run amok. So this is an issue that I am having a lot of problems with, which is that Wizards just recently, as you can see on the screen here, they asked MtGGoldfish to take down their matchup analysis. I was so ecstatic when MtGGoldfish finally started. I'm a huge data person. I love to look at statistics and breakdowns and like just look. It helps me as an innovator, as a deck builder, be able to attack the format and see, oh, this is why Abzan is beating Jeskai Black. It's this card particularly. So I need to build a deck or try to figure out a deck that can deal with this aspect of Abzan and still deal with this aspect of Jeskai and still deal with the fact that Jeskai is probably going to shift a little bit over and try to match. I mean, not only does it help, like the problem with Wizards, like, let me give you a little backstory here. So someone noticed that the constructed matchup analysis was taken off of MtGGoldfish. So they tweeted MtGGoldfish, and MtGGoldfish responded that Wizard asked us to stop publishing the data. And then in the thread, you can find other tweets here and basically saying that they asked them to stop doing this because they believe that the format is solved too quickly. Now, I don't believe that Battle for Zendikar is even closely solved yet. We've had some brand new decks that have started to put up some good numbers. The whole problem with Standard is not that it gets solved too quickly. It's that people jump on bandwagon decks. And I think the innovators are too underrepresented. There's not enough people that want to become Johnnies. The spike mentality is so... I've never seen spike mentality so large in a game. Maybe like League of Legends and Dota 2. There's sometimes if you try to build outside a character's specific like level tree or character build, so you'll get a lot of people who get very upset with you. But I still think there's a ton of innovation in those type of games where the meta is shifting. I play a ton of Dota, so that's what I'm referencing Dota. Even when I used to play competitive StarCraft, yes, there would be an established strategy, but people were always looking for different ways to challenge the mainstream strategies and find a new strategy to beat it. And you do this by having all the data very accessible, not stifling data. If you want the format to be solved and to stay stale, stifle data. That's how it happens. It doesn't happen by releasing all the data and saying, hey, Abzan's beating Jeskai 52% of the time. That means that Jeskai is unplayable, and that means people are going to quit playing Jeskai, and that means all we're going to see is Abzan. No, that is not what happens. What happens for a very stale metagame is when Mono Black Control wins for 5 tournaments in a row like it did last season with Theros, and everyone refuses to play anything but Mono Black Devotion or Mono Black Control, whatever you consider that deck. And you have basically 4 decks that are playable in the format. That's a stale environment. Battle for Zendikar is not a solved environment, and it does not help. It boggles my mind here. I don't know why they made this decision or why they misguidedly think that data solves formats. Now, you can use this to your advantage to actually, everyone has a Timmy in them. I have a Timmy in me, you have a Timmy in you, you have your preferences. What I mean by Timmy is Timmys usually get in the demographics of Timmy, Johnny, and Spike. Timmy has a particular thing that makes them feel good or makes them happy by playing. So a good Timmy analogy is that Timmy's like big, dumb green creatures. And so each set they try to print, like, they like to attack with big creatures. But Timmys can also be, there could be a Timmy control player. They like to cast counter spells. And they're always going to try to do that in their format, in their respected formats. And what this allows, like the Timmy Spike to do, or the Johnny Spike to do, is say, hey, how can I make a control deck that can actually beat this Abzan deck that's beating my control deck right now? And they just through a bunch of data mining, through looking at different analysis through the matchups, they can find different holes and adjust accordingly. And it just, again, I'd like to know your comments in the comment section below how you feel about this, because I'm very offended by it. If you go into sports, any other professional gaming, Dota, you can find so much. Go to dotabuff.com. There's a great website for you. You can look at every analysis of matchups. Like, how often does Necromancer beat Ursa, for example? You can go and look that up. And Dota 2 doesn't go, whoa, holy hell, no, Dota Buff, take that down. The format's going to be solved. No one's going to pick Necromancer because he dies to Ursa. They're not going to do that. In fact, it probably helps them design their next patch. To have these statistics available. I 100% guarantee that Wizards is mining their own data and trying to figure out statistics. I 100% that the pro teams that have a bankroll are having people do this to try to figure out. So what this really hurts is the people without a team, without these professional backing, or just innovators or people that just like to adjust decks. Now, what's going to happen is if we take away this data, we're going to just go back to people how they used to choose decks before this data was to say, oh, who won the last Pro Tour? Oh, Atarka. Oh, well, let's all play Atarka or Abzan and you just have bandwagon decks. That's all you have is people jumping on whatever deck did good in the last event. And data, in my experience, data has never led to lack of innovation or being solved or set in stone of what is a good thing. It always leads to more innovation. And who cares if a format gets solved? Yeah, it's going to get solved a lot quicker just because of MTGO, the ability to play more high-end tournaments over and over and over and just test nonstop, 24/7 test. That's usually what's led to more of a solving. And I think that what their problem is that at tournaments there's less new innovative decks because everyone has had a chance to test them out. And if it exists, you've probably played against it in MTGO. I've played against so many different decks. Right now, I would consider this format, the standard format, to have at least 20 plus viable decks. And that's what happens in like a good stuff format. What I mean by good stuff is the mana base is so easy that you can just play whatever cards are powerful. You can go, what happened to me is Jace into Crackling Doom, into Siege Rhino, into Sarkhan. Sarkhan the dragon, the one that produces dragon tokens, the teamer one. And it's just so those type of decks are very easy to attack with a synergistic mind. Like if you put a synergistic deck together and you figure out that they can beat all these good stuff cards, then you can build a deck accordingly. And I don't know. I just don't believe that suppressing data is their answer, and it's highly offensive to someone like me. So let me just show you this on MtGGoldfish. MtGGoldfish, I've been a huge supporter of this when their site was tiny, and now their site is massive, and they do a lot of similar, so I have to kind of consider them as a competitor, but you never, in the world of content, I don't think that that's the right sense to really think that like Saffron is a competitor of mine. Saffron's very, very similar to me, that we both build budget brews and we both build more rogue brews. And I actually love his decks. If you haven't checked out his Turbo Turns, which is another take on the Nissa's Expedition ramp type strategy, or Nissa's Renewal ramp type strategy to cast a bunch of awakened creatures, I highly suggest you come over here and you click on that and you watch his videos. They are very entertaining. And he's just a great author and a great contributor. And so I've always liked MtGGoldfish because they were one of the first websites to really publish and promote this metagame breakdown. I use this all the time. I use this in Modern. I always come over here and be like, okay, is it a good time to run Soul Sisters? And I'll look at this and be like, Argytron and Adamant Bloom. Nope, we'll de-sleeve the Soul Sisters for right now. Wait until Affinity and Naya Burned and Jund and Zoo are back up on top, and that's a good time to play Soul Sisters. So this is a very, very valuable piece of information that I have, and I was really starting to get into their breakdown. Now, going back to sports, you can even go into sports and they have a breakdown of a particular pitcher or goalie in hockey to see where their weak point is. Like, oh, top right shelf is the weak point of this particular goalie, and then then the sports commentators just beat that into the ground, and they do all these analytics, and it's fun. So not only is it a valuable resource, but it's also some things for content creators that are very fun to talk about. And what bugs me is they release a lot of this data at the Pro Tour. They'll say, hey, look at junk decks have been beating twin decks 42% of the time or whatever. They do that at their own. It's almost like Wizards is jealous that someone else is releasing that data rather than them. And I think that might actually be a huge factor. Wizards' website is notorious for having major problems, for not being run correctly, and now we have this amazing sites like MtGGoldfish that constantly update, that constantly are looking for new interesting analytics and new interesting ways to publish information, and they're doing a better job than Wizards at it. So I really think that has a huge part of it. And Wizards, feel free to comment on my comment section, tell me how wrong I am or what a bad person I am for saying this kind of stuff and how misguided I am. But that is my only hypothesis is that it's just misguided notion. I don't understand it. Information is always good. It's always the more advantageous for a game or an upcoming tournament to have as much data as possible for people to adjust accordingly. So I hope you all can join me and, really speak out our minds here and tell Wizards we do not agree with their decision. Supposedly, they said this about 2 years ago to Star City Games as well. And let's just talk about that, too. I've already had a couple people tweet me and say, well, can't MtGGoldfish just do it anyway? And yes, I don't know. What could happen, though, is one of the things about Wizards is they never actually give you permission. You do not have permission to actually use these pictures on a website. They're graciously saying they will not, as long as you're promoting their product, they will not sue you. But in the past, they've sued. There was a high image resolution website that just posted high image. And again, Wizards, that messed my ability up as a content producer to find high images for my videos. When you took that website down, but they were just worried that people were using it to make fake cards, which was probably a legitimate concern. But this is an issue that's just been beaten the ground. A little bit of back history. I think it was Disney that sued Canon or Xerox or one of the very first copy machine companies because people were copying. Maybe it was VHS or VCR. I think Disney sued one of the first where you could actually record a TV show, when your VCR, and said that it was predominantly be used for copyright reasons, like for, I can't even think of the word right now, by making copies of videos and giving it to your friends and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. And the courts ruled that if it had a legitimate use outside of stealing content, then you can't. I mean, that was Napster's back in the whole day. I was huge back into the whole Napster and Groove Shark and things have been shut down by the music industry. If there's the legitimate use outside just stealing copyrighted stuff, then you can't take it down. I mean, it has legitimate use, and it's how I kind of feel about some of the latest Wizards pitchforks against some of these companies that were just, I mean, creating a high res image profile is really good for content producers, and that was another resource that I hate to see go. But anyway, before I go too much off a tangent and go over a 15-minute video, I hope that you can join me in a voice in saying, hey, we want this information. It helps deck builders, it helps Timmys, it helps Johnny's, it helps everyone really know the statistics of a specific deck and then be able to make an informed decision and then go from there. And I don't think it will stifle innovation. I don't think it will solve the format like they're so scared about doing. Quit printing cards like Siege Rhino if they're worried about a format that gets solved too quickly. I mean, Siege Rhino is the most duh of a duh card. It's just too powerful in what it does. A 4 mana for a 4/5, that's good by itself. Track on Trample, now it can't be chump blocked. Amazing. Oh, now it has 3 life. It gains 3 life. Great. Now it does 3 damage. Oh, now it has a total package. Now it's going to go in every deck that runs those colors. Same thing with a card like Mantis Rider. They pushed the clans too much. They made these cards too powerful to try to make sure people were playing a 3-color deck. And then they didn't have the foresight to, with fetch lands already in a format, to print a dual-color land that can be fetched up. The problem with this format is really just poor design, not that people are releasing information too quickly. And actually, people are still adjusting. Let's go over to Modern here and just look at all the decks that have one in the past. That if you actually looked at the maybe I've lost my. Well, we'll look at that again. If you go over there and click on the stand. Oh, I'm on stand. I'm clicking on a page I'm already at. That's what it is. So I mean, they're perfect. UG? Who's seen a UG deck? Just went 5-0 in a standard chat. A standard. Okay, so this is now a pilgrimage deck that decided they needed counter spells and anticipate to help them dig through it to find the ramp. So it was an innovation that people have put on an existing deck. And in fact, this whole Eldrazi ramp is quite new of a deck compared to how old the standard's been. But we've seen Abs and Aggro come back. We've seen a bunch of like the Esper tokens and the Esper Dragons, green ramp. 4-color Rally is starting to have and Black Rite aggro. Look at all these decks that are actually viable in the metagame right now. And there is this like 18% abs and aggro, but it's people will adjust. And I don't think data is the problem that people aren't adjusting. Anyway, let me know in the comment section below. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.